Good morning, Central Texas. Welcome to KISD Community Connections at My KISD 1031. I'm Phyllis Jones, your host for this morning. And you know what? My 40-degree weather's not here yet. Seems that this 90-degree stuff is kicking in, and you all know I don't think well when it's hot. Not at all. I can't think. My brain is gone. So don't speak to me these days if you want a really coherent conversation. When it gets 40 degrees, talk to me because we're good. You know, and I won't say my boss is here, but he's kind of sort of in their realm. So I'm asking my boss, I want some 40-degree weather. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. and since your boss is supposed to make things happen because they claim that that's their job, I want some 40-degree weather.
Trust me, I wish I could bring some cooler weather back to Central Texas.
Okay. All right. Before I introduce my guest who you just heard, I need to thank a bunch of people. You know, about 30 days ago, a group went to Richard Milburn Academy, which is a public charter school. And I know what some people are going to ask, you know, the difference. And there's a difference between a public charter school and a private charter school. Public charter school has to follow every rule and regulation that a real public school has to follow. But Richard Milburn Academy is our public charter school. And we found out that this year was the first year ever they had 100 graduates. And then we found out that they don't get a prom. Because, you know, our other kids in high schools are for our high schools. They get a prom. You know, they get to have some fun. Richard Milburn Academy, those kids don't. They just get to have a graduation on June 4th and bye. So we decided that that's not going to happen. So within the community, we started out with the Village United and Black Women in Business, to which I'm a member of. We started it out, you know, by saying, okay, we need to do something. So we decided that they needed to have a prom, but we wanted to add a banquet to that. You know, so we decided let's do a banquet/prom for them and let's show them that, yes, they're kids. And even though they didn't go to one of our 4 high schools, they still deserve a good graduation. Well, you know, obstacles didn't land in our way, but things came in the way and we like, forget that, we can do it. We found some of our young men couldn't afford a suit. So we reached out to the community and said, hey, we got some boys who can't afford a suit. They don't have a suit, never worn a suit, so need help. Went to the mall. We got a store in the mall to do a good deal. And I don't know about a suit because I don't have sons. But they sold a complete suit for $80 based on what we're doing for the kids at the school. So we got men in the community to volunteer, buy suits for the young men. And we got some barbers to cut their hair and braid their hair because some wore braids, which was cool. Women in the community, well, you know, we're going to take care of our young girls. We're going to make sure they look good also. And then we decided, okay, you know what? We need a caterer. So a bunch of women got together and we had a display that is out of this world. I mean, of all the banquets I've ever been to, I've never seen so much food. But we did that. We decorated the East Center, and Carolyn donated the East Center, Carolyn Brown. So we used the East Center and we decorated with a class of elegance. Not nice, but elegance, because we wanted those kids to really see that there is a village and we do care. When they got there last night, you know, one of the girls, it was really cute. She came over, she said, do we sit in these chairs? You know, we was like, yeah, you sit there. You know, she says, well, we might spill something in the chair. It's fine. It's fine. We said, this is for you. You know, and 2 of the girls were DJs and they wanted to DJ for their own, you know, banquet, but they wanted to DJ and we let them do that, but they had fun. We had fun watching them. We gave them gifts. We had, since there were 100 kids, we had 100 shoeboxes to get gifts for. So we went to the community and I took on since I have girls, I decided, let me work for the boys. So I gave every man I know, not every man I know, but men boxes. And my Phyllis box was stuff for a guy that's going to college or the military. And I learned that some men don't know how to fill a box because their box ended up being a bag. Because they put everything in there as though these guys were going to war for a year and needed things to survive on. But it was good. It was all in fun. The kids were shocked. They were surprised because they thought we were just going to throw something together, and we didn't throw it together. So I want to thank everybody in the community that helped out. You know, we didn't even have to really ask a question. We just said we're hosting this for the kids at Richard Milburn Academy, and everybody just said, what do you want me to do? Or I'm good at this. I mean, nobody said no. Nobody even almost said no. In fact, we had people helping out, doing things that we never even thought we needed. So the community came together is what I want to say. And we did something terrific for our kids. If you didn't come last night or wasn't involved in it, don't worry about it. We'll get you next year. But I'll put some pictures on my Facebook page to let everybody know what it looked like. And like I said, the kids had a lot of fun. And we learned a lot from the kids. You know, the young men who never wore a suit, one guy, he says, when I sit down, do I unbutton a suit or not? I told him, since I'm not a male, I don't know. But I asked one of the other men, I don't know what you do. You know, and he did, which was really cute because he wanted to do it right. You know, he said since it's his first suit, he wanted to be right. You know, he wanted to do it right. And it was like, that's cool. Because from this day, he learned, you know, he was like, it feels good to wear a suit. It makes me feel different, you know, and that's what we wanted to hear. It made him feel different. One little girl, she said she doesn't wear dresses. She came in this lovely formal dress and we were like, who are you? You know, because she was the girl that you saw in the jeans and the combat boots and, you know, like she was going to war. But last night she was a beautiful young lady and, you know, we told her she was. We told her she looked good. We told her she was great. So it was all good. So like I said, once again, I want to thank the community for coming out, showing out, and letting these kids know that even though they did not graduate from one of our 4 high schools, the community still cares. And like I said, later on today, look at my Facebook page. My Facebook page is Phyllis Jones. Naturally, you're going to see an African queen on there, on my pictures of Facebook, but I'm going to post the pictures on there and so you can see what we did. Okay, so that's it for that. Now my guest. I met my guest about 2 years ago, I think, in the summer. Mm-hmm. And I like meeting, well, it's strange, but I like meeting people working over issues. The reason why I do, because I get to learn that person. You know, because all of you come out, all of your whole, whoever you are, all comes out when you're working an issue. every parts of you come out. The good, the bad, the oh my goodness, the confused, it all comes out. And it's a good way to meet people because then you get to know how they generally are. So Dr. Stewart is our Deputy Superintendent. Good morning.
Good morning.
And I need to tell him, he looks like a guy who used to work on our show called David Jordan, named David Jordan. So I need to find David Jordan so you can see that you two kind of mirror each other. Y'all both short. But your facial features are almost the same. You agree with me, Joe? Joe, our quiet person, is saying, yeah, pretty good. But I met you about 2 years ago over an issue. And just to let you know something you did not know, the parent, I'd never met her before in my life. And I read about her case a couple of hours before I got there.
Gotcha.
And I was told to be there a couple of hours before I was there. So you all had a running jump on me because I was sitting there. I might not have looked confused and lost, but I was confused and lost. But what I learned about you was that one, there's 2 things people do. You can listen and then you hear people. And when you're listening to people, you're not hearing them. You give them the general, oh, really? Oh, wow, I must do something about that. You give them those answers. But you listened to her and you heard her. And how I know you did, because you asked questions about things she said, and you asked questions about things you read. So that showed me that, one, you do both.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, indeed.
You know, and as a leader of a school district, that's important that you do both.
And I would agree. You know, that's one of the things that I pride myself in, is being an active listener. Mm-hmm. You know, to truly sit back and really listen to the issue at hand and to really gain the perspective of the individual. And then once they have had the opportunity to express their concerns, at that point, then we work together to work towards a common solution. So that's one of the things I pride myself in, and I continue to try to do because, you know, there's many concerns out there, you know, from all spectrums and all perspectives when you talk about education. Right. You know, whether it's on the gen ed side, special ed side, athletic side, fine arts side, there's all sorts of concerns. So that's one of the key qualities that I believe helps individuals to become an effective leader. Before you became administrator, what grade did you teach? I was a high school teacher. I taught high school math. I taught algebra and geometry in the big city of Fort Worth, Texas. Okay. Did that for a number of years and kind of got pushed over into administration. My principal saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. I was also a coach. Okay. So, you know, outside of my teaching responsibilities, I had coaching responsibilities as well, which further helped me to have an influence on a population of students at our school in which we serve. And my principal, I mean, she stayed on me. She was like, hey, you need to become an assistant principal and a principal because, you know, the kids absolutely love you. Your parents have a great deal of respect for you. Your colleagues highly respect you. You have all the qualities needed to be a successful administrator. So from there, I went off and became a middle school assistant principal. Shortly thereafter, actually the next year, got moved to high school assistant principal and then became a principal. I was promoted to an intermediate school principal, which was grades 5 and 6.
Right.
A few years later, became a middle school principal, then a high school principal.
Ooh, that's when you had gray hair or no hair?
the hair started to fade at about the middle school level. Later became a high school principal, then became an area director in Garland ISD.
Okay.
And then transitioned to Killeen ISD as the deputy superintendent.
What made you come to Killeen?
Well,
it's one of those questions.
There's lots of reasons why I can't, and that's the number one question I get asked. Why Killeen?
Yeah.
Number one, I'm a Central Texas guy. I'm from the big city of Waco, Texas. So this is home for me.
It is, isn't it?
This is home. So all of my family, about 99% of my family still resides in the city of Waco, including my mom. So that was part of issue number one, or item number one, that was appealing to me to come back home to Central Texas.
Wow. Okay.
Number two, I knew that I wanted to become a superintendent. And looking at the job description of the deputy superintendent would provide me with some experiences that I had yet to experience back in my career. So, now being over operations has truly opened my eyes up to a whole totally different side of education.
Right.
So that experience alone is priceless as far as in my development as a instructional leader, as a district leader. This has helped me to grow exponentially in comparison to my previous experiences.
All right. So what strengths did you bring to KISD?
For me, strengths, I think when you look at leadership and you talk about strengths, as having been a former building principal, you have the curriculum instruction background, you have the community relations background. I think for me, I really bring a different perspective. Being that, Killeen was once more, when I go back, when I was in high school, because we played against the Killeen schools, Killeen was a very small city. Well, now times have changed. And so now, in my work experience, I've been involved in some school districts that have started off as smaller districts and have experienced a huge economic boom, whether it be, from the commercial businesses to, rooftops. I've seen drastic growth in Mansfield ISD and the Crowley ISDs. So I had the opportunity and experience of working through that growth, especially rapid growth. When you talk about the adding of schools, the creation of programs to keep up with student desires and student wants, while also addressing the needs of the community. I think that's one of the huge strengths that I bring to the table, is a different perspective when it comes to growth and all that entails when dealing with the school system.
First of all, I need to talk about you really bad. Before my next question. I'm going to tell something on him. I work with the tallest people in KISD, the 3-year-old short people. And Dr. Stewart came to my class one day. And, our kids, and just straight up, they could care less about a principal. They're 3. They don't care. They have no clue who anybody is when you walk in. And they don't really care. They shouldn't care because they're 3. And they're supposed to be special needs, but our kids aren't special needs. We don't know who they are, but they're not. But anyway, Dr. Stewart came in our class one day, and our boys were acting like boys. Y'all know he didn't do anything. Here he is, over 6 feet, and we got the little midgets, and he wouldn't help us correct the kids. So I'm just gonna throw it out there that I have great respect for our deputy superintendent, but he let some 3-year-old boys just, outrule him.
My career has been in secondary education, and I'm telling you, those little ones bring a totally different type of energy to the classroom that I'm lost for words trying to describe. But I tell you, Ms. Jones, one of my big initiatives is pushing literacy. And so I like to go out and I like to read to our little ones. When I get invited by teachers across the district to come out and read. And I sit there and I read a book with the kids, and I tell you, that is truly the highlight of my day. Being able to spend that 20 minutes with those individuals and engaging in story time, because I'm telling you, they are our gifts. They are our future, and I take great pride and joy in spending that time with them.
We're going to invite you back to our 3-year-old classroom.
Please do.
So they can, outrun you.
I'll be prepared next time.
You need track shoes and food.
I got it.
Actually, you need goldfish and track shoes. That's it. As long as you have goldfish and track shoes on, you're fit.
Okay.
They won't beat you up. But in KISD, we have a lot of students. What is our student population?
Right now, we're just short of about 45,000. And speaking of large numbers, this weekend is a very special weekend in KISD. Of course, today is graduation day.
Yes.
Today we'll be graduating Shoemaker High School and Killeen High School. Then tomorrow, of course, we'll have Ellison High School and Harker Heights. This year, in looking at past years' graduation numbers,
right.
This is by far, we'll graduate the most students this weekend that we have ever in the history of KISD. So, actually last year we graduated 2,109 students. This year we're graduating 2,324, which is an additional 215 students more than last year. Wow. So that tells us a number of things. Our kids are coming.
Yes.
Kids are coming from, near and far.
Right.
And so it's key that we as an ISD continue to, be forward thinking as far as our programmatic design and as well as our facilities. Of course, our bond passed.
Yes.
The $426 million bond passed. So that is going to be huge for us when you talk about growth. Especially if we continue to see the growth that we've experienced since I've been here, the last 3 years.
Correct.
So with the new facilities, the renovations, as well as some ADA and security upgrades, that's going to leave a huge mark on KISD in years to come.
When the school shootings, as they've been going on, at elementary school, we were surprised, but we had parents scared to send their children to school. And they asked us, what was the process if an active shooter came into the building? Unfortunately, we didn't tell them because we don't know what it is. We have no clue, and so, one of our parents, she asked me straight up, she says, well, Phyllis, she said, if you take our kids to the playground and somebody's shooting in the building, what are you going to do? I'm like, first of all, I won't know that's going on. I said, second, she goes, I said, I'm going to break all school rules. And I know people who live across the street and we'll be at their house waving and we'll call the school and say, this is where we are, but she was like, for real? Okay. For her, that was good. She says, people across the street? Yes. She said, and we'll be over their house watching the news. Yes. But we got parents more and more, being afraid because first, when the shootings happen, if they're far away, you go, it's not going to ever happen here. It's not nothing to worry about, which is wrong. We need to know what time's changing. You do need to worry about it. So when school starts again, will there be a plan that we all know?
Actually, there's already a plan in place. Now, we have active shooter trainings, of course, your lockdown drills and whatnot.
Right.
Mr. John Dodd does a great job of communicating with our principals and our leadership as far as going through the different forms of crisis type drills, whether it be fire drills, active shooter, inclement weather. There's a series of drills that our campuses have access to and have been schooled on as far as how do you successfully and safely administer these types of drills. Of course, in lieu and in light of the most of these recent shootings, again, that remains at the forefront of our foresight. When we talk about how can we ensure that our schools are safe? That's the number one question that I've gotten, especially as these shootings have occurred.
Yeah.
How can we, without a shadow of a doubt, 100% ensure that our schools are safe? And I wish I had a surefire answer for that question. All that I can say, and I've communicated with our stakeholders, our parents, our teachers, community members, etc., is that, trust me, KISD, we stay ahead of the game. We don't take a reactive approach to school shootings.
Right.
This is something that we always plan for. Again, we hope and pray that that's something that we never experience.
True.
But we'd rather be proactive than to be reactive.
Yeah.
And so John Dodd does a great job of staying up to date with the different tactical, procedures that are in place. He, travels to various conferences and whatnot, but he also has face-to-face contact with our building principals to, again, talk about the different safety rules and what we can do to try to make our campuses as safe as possible.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you the hard tackling question. My big thing for this year and forever, until we take control of it, because we've lost control, is child sex trafficking. I sent you a video. I don't know if you watched it yet, but I sent a video, and I'm very hard on it because I don't know if you know, but Bell County, we're number one now. We don't want to be number one. Of all 254 counties in Texas, we don't want to be number one.
Correct.
But we are now. Okay, so we've trained Temple ISD's counselors, and they did the principals and the schools. We did it in Temple and in Belton. Now we want to come to Killeen. So I would like to know, I know you can't answer, but what I'm going to ask you too, when you all do the planning for next year, can you all put that on the table? That our counselors get trained, and then they can train the school, the teachers. Because it's happening even more, and it's our fault, because we don't know what we're looking at. And we don't know what to ask. If you're in high school and you have students falling asleep on the desk, the teacher's going to naturally think you've been out all night, or you've been doing what you shouldn't be doing all night, and that's why you sleep in my room, instead of that child might have been nightly trafficked. And that's why they're sleeping in your room. So we need to change our brain and our mindset on what we see, what we say, how we say it, and we need to know what to look for. And since, like I said, KISD, our population of kids, as you just said, is huge, we do know what's going on in Killeen. We know our kids are nightly trafficked, and we have kids that are weekend trafficked. So what I want to ask you is, can you all put that on the table? Because if we don't discuss it, we're part of the problem.
Well, we definitely welcome the opportunity to sit down and talk and get the information out there.
Right.
You're right. You know, putting those trainings out there to alert individuals of the signs of an individual who may be part of a trafficking circle and whatnot, to look for us. We would definitely be welcome to sitting down and talking through this important topic, because I've been keeping up with this as well. And I've been to a couple of workshops in which, again, although I'm from Central Texas, I moved here from North Texas. And I didn't realize how severe the sex trafficking problem was here in Central Texas. So yes, we'd be more than happy to sit down with you just to kind of discuss what that training looks like. But most importantly, begin to see where we can infuse the training so that all of our KISD staff has that important information. Because
like I said, the video I sent you, I was done by our Attorney General. And we got him to do the video because it's a teaching tool that I told him we could send out to, like I sent it to you. I sent it to Dr. Kraft. I sent it to very principals. I could do that without getting in trouble. You know what I mean? It's because I didn't say do it. I'm just, just an idea of what to see. And I would tell people the first 15 minutes of the video are the hardest you're going to see, because there's a little girl in there talking and she's saying what you don't want her to say. You're like, no. And without knowing, this is an up-to-date video. So we've been using it as a training thing just to do some for your information. This is what's going on. And since we found out now Texas is central, Bell County is #1, we want to get rid of that real quick, real fast. I've told people we can't build a program for that because it's not a program issue. This is an adult issue, and we only the ones can fix it. Because if we say our children live in a village, then we're the wrong villagers because we're allowing this to happen to our children, and we need to stop it. So everybody who hears me and sees me every day, you're going to hear me ask you, do you know about it? Yes, I confront people everywhere because that's the only way to stop it, is to bring it up, just like we bring up, what did you cook for dinner yesterday? It need to be a part of our conversation. So I would like for KIs, when you all do the planning, to actually throw that on the table and look at the video so you can get an idea of why we're saying do it, but look at the video and then say, hey, listen, we need to focus on this. We need to talk about it.
Well, we definitely need to move on this ASAP because the planning for next year is happening now.
Okay, so
although we're wrapping up the 17-18 school year, the planning for next year has already started. So we need to sit down and discuss what that looks like, because knowledge is power. And believe it or not, because I speak as an example, I'm sure there are people that have come in new to Killeen, whether it's parents, whether it's teachers, whether it's administrators, that are not privy to that information, that are not aware of the seriousness of this problem here in Central Texas. So the sooner we can get that out and get a plan in place to roll that information out to, like I say, counselors, teachers, building principals, even parents. I think the better it's going to help as we try to minimize and eliminate this problem.
Because we did a training at the police department. One of the bus drivers came, and he sat there, and when he first came, he goes, "I'm a bus driver. What?" He said, "I'm just a bus driver, and I don't know what I can do." And we're like, "Wait, hold up." He said, "What? Wait, hold up." He said, "What? You're the first line." He said, "What do you mean? You're the first line." We said, "What?" He said, "What do you mean? You hear everything." We said, "You hear everything on that bus. You hear everything that's needed on that bus, because kids talk on the bus. That's where you talk at." We told him, we said, "So you're the first line to hear stuff." And he's like, we said, "But wait, just wait till this is over with, then you'll figure it out." After he saw the video and listened to everybody and read the paperwork we gave out, He stood up, he goes, okay, listen, I have something to say. He said, I used to tune the kids out on the bus. He said, because I drive for high school. He said, and they talk so much trash, I started tuning them out. He said, but guess what? We said what? He said, tomorrow morning, the next morning, I'm going to listen to everything they say. He said, should I ask questions? I said, we told him, we said, if you hear something that makes you go, whoa, yes. Yeah, ask that question. We say, or either get off the bus and tell your boss or tell a principal, hey, listen, I heard this child say this and it just didn't resonate properly in my head. I say, it's your job to do that. I said, we want you to do that. You know, so he came in thinking I'm just a bus driver, so what I'm going to do till, oh, wait a minute, hold up.
And I want to echo what you just said. I mean, you know, the saying that you quoted a while ago, it takes a village to raise a child. I am a firm believer in that. And so, you know, our bus drivers, custodians, cafeteria workers, paraprofessionals, secretaries, teachers, administrators, central level administrators, we all play a role in the overall success of KISD, but also the overall success of our students. So I would agree. If a bus driver hears something that doesn't sound right, you know, if he or she, and again, I would reference them to an administrator, you know, bring that, capture that information and then bring that to the attention of the administrator ASAP, whether they send an email that day or, you know, they see them as soon as possible. They need to get that information into the administrator's hands so that at that point we can really begin to investigate and look further into the situation, because we definitely don't want to kick the can down the street and then something tragic happens, and that could have been avoided because we had access to information, or at least had inklings that there was something not right going on. So, you know, regardless of who you are in the school system, even parents, volunteers, if you hear something or have strong belief that something's not right is taking place, please bring that to the attention of a building administrator so he or she can then begin the process of further investigating that situation.
And not letting it just go. Correct. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a difficult question. You know what? She hasn't asked it yet? Yes. Okay, as our Deputy Assistant Superintendent, you hear complaints from parents. But sometimes our parents' emotion gets ahead of the complaint. So you don't hear the complaint correctly. You know what I mean? You've got to sit back and move the emotions over here and move the complaint over here and then focus on the complaint because the emotions were in it. And when I'll say as me as the state education chair for the NAACP, when I hear complaints and the emotions in there, I got to move the emotion out of my way because it's not that it's getting on my nerve, but it's clouding what they're talking about. So I'll ask you to tell the parents and tell everybody who's listening, when they have an issue, what is the best thing to do? What should they do?
Well, you know, if you have an issue or complaint, you know, we always try to solve any and every problem at the lowest level. Okay. And I tell a lot of our parents, you know, if they come to me with a complaint, you know, the first question I always ask is, you know, have you spoken with the teacher or have you spoken with the building administrator? Because quite frankly, they can get to the root of the problem a lot quicker than me because they are the ones who work on a day-to-day basis with their child. If that hasn't taken place, then again, I would never turn a parent away, but again, I'm going to always ask that question because lots of times the problem can be solved if they just reach out to that individual teacher, principal, etc. But, you know, when you talk about the emotion, you're absolutely correct. You know, I understand, you know, we're charged with educating our community's most prized possessions, and that's their kids. I get it. I'm a father myself, so I understand. But at the same time, you can't let the emotion cloud the message in which you're trying to convey to whomever you're speaking with. So, you know, if you feel as if you're been wronged and whatnot, the only thing I ask, you know, is, you know, come in and talk to me. Let me listen. Let me gather all the facts, because when the emotion gets involved, you're right. People start becoming scatterbrained and they begin to kind of jump from here to jump around, and they're never really able to adequately give me the story. And so that's my biggest bit of advice with our parents. You know, bring that concern, complaint to the proper personnel. If it's an issue with the campus teacher, then you go to the principal. If it's an issue with the principal, then you go to that executive director. We have 3 executive directors in Killeen ISD, 2 at the elementary level. So all 32 of our elementary schools are broken up. So we have Ms. Jolynette Creighton and we have Mr. Steve Hudson, who both oversee all of our elementary schools. And then we have Dr. Susan Buckley, who's newly appointed as the executive director for secondary schools. So she will now be charged with overseeing all of our middle schools as well as all of our high schools.
Right.
And then you have, and if they can't solve the issue and the problem, then you come to myself, Student Services, Dr. Joseph Welch, to see if we too can help in resolving the issue. Yeah. So, you know, my biggest bit of advice is, again, follow the hierarchy, but if that doesn't work for you or whatnot, again, Student Services is not going to turn you away. I'm not going to turn you away. We're going to look into the problem, but it may take a little longer for us to really get to the nuts and bolts of the situation, being that we're not on the campus.
Right. Okay. We're going to take a break and come right back.